Hello everybody, how you doing this fine Tuesday? I cannot stay long today because I am working on a video about if Beyonce Knowles is an extreme witch. So last week I made this video about Rebecca from Soft White Underbelly because Mark from Soft White Underbelly, Mark Leta, he had made a video a couple months ago, I think 2 months ago, that said Rebecca's last video. Well, then all of a sudden, a few days ago, Rebecca's back on the channel, coming as a surprise not to some of y'all. And so that's all fine and good. One of the things that I did discuss in that video was the fact that Mark seems to basically just be auctioning off or advertising some of these subjects for experimentation or for marketing reasons. For example, specifically Rebecca, and we do know also Amanda. Amanda was used as a case study.
We, at this moment, are giving the technology to these facilities at no cost. So we're giving it to them for research purposes, and we're going to use Amanda as a case study. And we're going to document exactly how we're helping her get treatment. And we're going to use Amanda as a case study.
Basically try and convince insurance companies to cover a non-FDA approved treatment.
We're giving the technology to these facilities at no cost. So we're giving it to them for research purposes.
Some of you know, some of you may not, the girl Amanda Rabb, she died during receiving one of these treatment courses.
The treatment center staff walked into Amanda's room thinking that she was just peacefully sleeping and realized that she had passed away. It's been a really, really big shock for us.
Over the course of a year, she was found dead in her bed, allegedly, apparently. But then, girl, they came back and told us how she died months and months and months later, 7, 8, 9 months later. The girl died in May. They came back in December, finally told us how she died.
All right, Lima.
All right.
We finally, we have the autopsy results for Amanda.
Yes, we do.
Which just came a couple days ago. Tell me what you know.
Yeah, so the reason that it took so long is because there was a lot of lack of documentation. And so I'm just going to read it word for word of what we got. The cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder. And so I'm just going to read it word for word of what we got. The cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder. If the traumatic brain injury and the assaults were well documented, they would have most likely marked it as a homicide. So that was a major wake-up call. They would have most likely marked it as a homicide.
And guess what? They lied. They didn't tell the truth about how she died. They lied about how she died. They came on there and said her cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder.
The cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder.
No, it was not. The cause of death was not marked as a seizure disorder. The cause of death was marked as cardiac arrhythmia. There's some complicating factors or contributing factors were schizophrenia, obesity, and hypertension, like high blood pressure, but nothing about a seizure anywhere in this thing.
I'm just going to read it word for word of what we got. The cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder.
So Mark allowed his friend, his associate, his partner, or what, I don't know, girl, what they are with each other, to essentially use one of these subjects, Amanda Rabb, as a case study, and she died. Now, am I saying that Mark killed her? No. Am I saying he didn't? Also no. So I wasn't there. I don't know, girl. I do not know. Okay, so then Amanda's dead. Obviously, they can't use her as their marketing advertising anymore, so they need somebody else. Well, then this girl comes back on, the one that was experimenting, the one that wanted to use Amanda as a case study.
We're going to use Amanda as a case study.
She came back on the channel to talk shit about me, to lie about me, to defame and slander me. But she also was saying that she wanted to use as advertisement some of Mark's other subjects. And she names them by name. She says, it would be nice to work with Chris, the schizophrenic, or it would be nice to work with Rebecca. Rebecca has a really special place in my heart.
Yeah.
And whether you want to find somebody else from my channel that you wanted to help, Rebecca would be a good.
Yeah, Rebecca has a very close place in my heart, and I think.
And Bam Margera as well.
Yeah.
So she came back and did that. Well, I don't know if Rebecca just didn't want to work with her. If Rebecca heard that maybe people die when they go into this treatment, at least one person has. And so I don't know. Maybe the treatment actually don't work. I don't know. I haven't used it and I never will. Under my own free will. I mean, girl, you know they like to conservatorship or jail people. So who knows? Maybe I'll end up in a conservatorship under Lima because it is about day 1242 of trying not to become schizophrenic. But another thing we know about that woman, the one who was using Amanda as a case study.
Case study.
She didn't only use Amanda as a case study, girl. She also used this technology, this virtual reality exposure therapy, on her sisters.
All right. Well, growing up, my father was very abusive to my sisters and I. I remembered everything, and that's why I wanted to go into mental health. But my sisters, identical twins, successful actresses, and YouTube stars, had no memory of the trauma. They had what's called complex PTSD.
Not only that, Albert Minero Jr., who is a business, the program director. He was the program director for this company. He also came out and said that they were trying to use Edwards Air Force Base as a case study. I'll put that clip right here.
Are people using this out in the field yet?
We are doing case studies only right now because we want to prove efficacy, but we're actually talking to Edwards Air Force Base right now about being a case study.
So what that tells me is they're using, or they were attempting to use, this case study technology on veterans. Other things that they use the technology on are veterans specifically with PTSD, but anybody with PTSD.
One of our therapists, her name is Alana, she uses our technology. She works with veterans, so she's able to track how the patients are doing. We also use virtual reality, so we can put patients in triggering environments. For example, we put a patient in a bar, or for our veterans, we put them in a war zone. We've learned a lot about their response to certain things. It just gives us a lot. It's all about having that vast richness of data. This girl who runs this Aura company, the girl that wanted to use someone as a case study cause of death as seizure disorder. That girl, she's also said on Mark's channel that her case study, not FDA approved technology, is used to treat PTSD, maybe like dissociative identity disorder. I mean, she basically acted like the thing was a cure for the whole entire anything and everything that might be going wrong with your brain.
Our proprietary technology uses machine learning to track progress, regression, risk levels of patients, and individualized patient-centered planning. I've led treatment initiatives and recovery planning for addictions, eating disorders, severe mental illness, for professional athletes, high-profile celebrities, and public figures, and I've been tremendously successful in doing so.
The people that are thinking of how can we scale help for for everybody.
You know, Joel, what we're trying to do with Aura is do what we did with Amanda for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so because every single person needs mental health, do what we do with Amanda for everybody.
But one thing that I found to be interesting and peculiar about her description of this technology is that she constantly implied and sometimes explicitly stated that this technology knows you better than you know yourself. That technology and data, biometric data, knows you better than you could possibly know yourself.
We use voice analysis, we use biofeedback, so you can actually see how a patient's feeling. I'm not just asking you, how bad is the pain, right? I give the doctors the tools to see, so if you tell me, you're fine, and I look and I can see that you're not fine, addicts are master manipulators. They have it spot on how to trick you, and on top of that, my sisters are the best actresses, so it's hard enough for me to read them. But being able to have tools that, the ability to just be able to see how the patient's feeling.
She often says this story about her sisters, and she'll go, when she has these two twin sisters, identical twins. And she often tells the story about the sisters. She's like, they were misdiagnosed with schizophrenia for 3 years, and then they got diagnosed with the right thing, and it was actually a dissociative identity disorder the whole time. So it is kind of a sales pitch, to be honest, but in her sales pitch, she very often says the following: my sisters, they had never experienced this before, and it was like a blind person trying to describe the color blue.
But my sisters, who were identical twins, very successful actresses and YouTube stars, 9 years ago, they began experiencing symptoms of severe mental illness. They want to see a mental health professional, and that was the beginning of the end for them. The psychiatrist had no tools to treat them. He simply asked them, "How are you feeling?" And based on my sisters' attempts to describe their psychiatric conditions, like a blind person trying to describe the color blue, a feeling that they've never felt before, he misdiagnosed them and prescribed them a cocktail of medications, which led to an addiction.
He simply just asked them, "How are you feeling?" And based on my sister's description of their own psychological condition, kind of like a blind person trying to describe the color blue, a feeling that they've never felt before.
The therapist or psychiatrist had no tools to treat them, and all they did was ask them how they felt and gave them a cocktail of medications.
Okay. So first of all, I mean, I've gotten into this many times before. A blind person hasn't necessarily been blind their whole entire life. So sometimes a blind person may have very well seen the color blue. But for anybody that can see the color blue, I mean, goddamn, try to explain it. Try to describe the color blue, even if your vision is 2020, 2015, 2010. It's very difficult to describe a color. But here's this girl. My sisters didn't know how they were feeling because it was like blind people trying to describe color blue. So what did understand her sisters, or what does she claim the solution is? Oftentimes you might say, I feel fine, but really you don't. And we can read your biometric data and tell that you're not fine. And the doctor, you can lie to them. But if you're hooked up to a machine that gathers your biometric data, then you can't lie to your therapist and you can get better faster. So that's basically her pitch, right?
You know, you're fine, and I look and I can see that you're not fine. Addicts are master manipulators.
This technology knows you better than you know yourself. You are going through something like a blind person trying to describe the color blue. And these machines, this technology, these electromagnetic sensors, they know you better than you know yourself.
That's what the Aura model is going to provide.
Yeah.
You may not even be aware of exactly how you're feeling, but let's say you have a smartwatch with the Aura app on it. It's monitoring you. So it'll signal you, hey, Joel, how are you feeling?
Really?
And you might do a voice recognition to say how you're feeling. And it would say, well, you might think you're okay, but we're noticing your cortisol levels are up.
Oh, you mean
Why
they can
don't you
actually
do-
tell that kind of stuff from this app?
Well, that in the next model, that's
Yeah.
where we're going to get to.
And then finally, these two twin sisters and Lima, they all had lived in Oklahoma. And this is public knowledge, it's public record. Lima has even put in court records that she graduated from a high school in this Tulsa, Oklahoma, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma area. Now, I've been unable to confirm that Lima ever even attended a high school, much less graduated from one. And I've been unable to confirm in the public record whether she graduated from college. So it looks like she may have not been honest about her credentials. Girl, I don't know, maybe if we ever make it to deposition, I'll be able to see if I can subpoena her credentials, but I don't think we're ever going to make it there because her suits are slap suits. Anyway, so it was actually in December 2022 that one of these twin sisters made some heinous and alarming allegations against Lima's mother. She claimed that her mother, who goes by all kinds of different names between Haifa Umar, all the way to Linda Omar, Linda Lima, all kinds. I mean, the woman just changes her own name and changes her names for her children. And she even lies to the police about what the twins' names are. And I have that in proof on body camera. I'll put it right here.
They were doing way better, but I didn't want their name on the report. I have to do that.
Correct, because that's why you gave a different name last time.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
I
have to put their name because she's gonna go after and she's gonna go down the boards, put it all over the internet.
But Haifa Linda Omar Muhammad, whatever her name is, today Abdul, I don't know, Takali Takwali. She's been accused by one of these daughters of fficked. Okay. One of Lima's sisters, who is an identical twin. One of them appears to be missing. I really don't know where she is. But one of these identical twins, Dahlia Takali, she got into an altercation with her mother one night, and they ended up getting in a big fight. And I believe what Dahlia says, but there are two versions of the story. There's Linda, Lima, Haifa, Omar, and then there's Dahlia's story. So Dahlia's version of the story is that her mother, Linda, will not let her leave the house, won't let her sit on a bench outside her house, she's like 30 years old at this point, 29, 30, maybe 31 at this point, and she's not allowed to leave the house. She's not allowed to go on the phone. She's not allowed to use any computers, any devices. Her mom doesn't let her know what day it is. And it appeared as though, but just based on her answers to questions, she is not allowed to get out very much.
Like I said, I don't have a cell phone, and she does that on purpose. She took my laptop. So I literally, I don't have a phone, I don't have a computer, I don't have anything.
This is all from body camera footage. I'll put a couple clips here just so y'all, know.
What's going on? What happened tonight?
So she has all of her devices and her phone and everything set up to me. And so I literally asked her if she would go for a drive because she spends 24/7 stalking me. Actually, she will never leave me alone. And I'm really peaceful. I just spend all my time in my room, and she's always framing me and calling the police and saying, I heard her on the phone and saying, she's crazy, oh my gosh, I'm so traumatized, she's just like her sister, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm nothing like them, I was normal, and I asked her 2.5 years ago to leave me alone. And she literally just stalks me, this place smells like it's burning on fire 24/7, and I can't breathe, and if I step outside to go sit on the couch, on the front porch, she literally watches through the curtains, opens the door a trillion times, then says, I'm gonna call the police, blah, blah, blah. She literally has me psychotic with lies about me to the police.
Let's take some deep breaths.
And then she starts crying, going, I'm so traumatized.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's just take some breaths.
And then she calls the police. I heard on the phone.
Just breathe for a second.
She's getting aggressive. Can you just leave me alone?
Okay.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfectly
I'm
okay.
really scared of police officers because they never do their job.
Well, you have no.
The killers and the murderers to jail, but instead they keep it going. So I just want you to leave me alone because the police never did their job.
Okay,
I mean, she's a rapist.
We're here to do our job tonight, okay?
She married a rapist, and then she's a rapist after me my whole life.
You broke your nose?
Yeah, no, someone broke it.
Someone broke
sex
it?
trafficking.
Okay.
And it got so deviated, they said sex trafficking is illegal.
It is very illegal, yes,
So
ma'am.
why is it allowed only on me?
It's not allowed.
So why is she still here? Why isn't she in jail?
But it didn't appear that she was in a full 100%, 100% mental health status in the footage. But it also appeared as though that could have been caused by perhaps trauma and abuse. Again, like I said, she didn't know what day it was. She didn't know really what month it was. She didn't exactly know how long she had been in Oklahoma, but she said it's because I'm not allowed to use the phone. I'm not allowed to use any devices, any electronics.
Like I said, I don't have a cell phone, and she does that on purpose. She took my laptop. So I literally, I don't have a phone, I don't have a computer, I don't have anything. You know what I'm saying? She just follows me around and watches me and does all this stuff on her computers, and I'm literally just like a prisoner, being held hostage by her. And then I just feel like I'm being raped 24/7 by people because of sex trafficking stuff. And she doesn't know anything about sex. Well, I don't know. She's the one doing it. And she sends rapists after me, and it's programs my stem cells. I know it sounds ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And so then I'm like, what? I'll just be like, what's going on? I'm confused, huh? And then it feels like I go brain dead again. And then I get this weird thing, Dolly, there's people fucking you 24/7, but I can't tell because I can't feel my body at all.
When was the last time she allowed you to take medication?
I'm not allowed to talk to anyone, and I'm not allowed to leave this house. She also made the alarming allegation that her mother was S-ing her.
And then I just feel like I'm being raped 24/7 by people because of sex trafficking stuff. And she doesn't know anything about sex. Well, I don't know. She's the one doing it. And she sends rapists after me, and it's programs my stem cells. I know it sounds ridiculous.
She claimed to the Tulsa, Oklahoma police that she thought that her mother should be in jail, and she's been begging them to arrest this mother and take her to jail, her alleged captor. I mean, this is according to her.
Sex trafficking is illegal.
It is very illegal, yes,
So
ma'am.
why is it allowed only on me?
It's not allowed.
So why is she still here? Why isn't she in jail?
She said that she wanted her mother to be arrested and taken to jail. Well, guess what happened at the end of this whole ordeal? They took no statements from Dahlia, no witness statements, and they took her in handcuffs to a mental asylum, pretty much against her will. I mean, she was voluntarily going with them, but I know that they would have tased her and dragged her and done anything else they needed to do to her to get her in that car. So it was go willingly, or against your will. But in any event, it appeared to me to be an involuntary hold. And again, they did not take any statement from her. They said on the body cameras, we're not going to take a statement from her.
Camera, statement, lethality, all of it.
The domestic portion of it?
Huh?
The domestic portion of it?
Yes, plus the camera with photos. Third party. The witness statement, not so much. Don't worry about the witness statement. We just need the third party. She's gonna fill one out. We're gonna fill one out. And we're going that route. And then I'm gonna write up.
And what?
And then I'm gonna write up the. That's what Mom said.
So all that is the lead up here, and I wanted to set the context because I know that there are a lot of new people here since the last time I talked about this story. So I wanted to kind of give you a lay of the land. But what do we really have here? We have allegations/accusations from somebody in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that they are being used for experimentation. She said her mother hooks all of her devices up to her.
I literally asked her to go for a drive, and then she gets all of her devices and they start acting all weird because she has everything linked up to me. So I asked her to leave her phone here, and then she called the police and started crying and saying that I was attacking her. And then I took the phone and I locked myself in the bathroom, and then she broke that door trying to come in and kill me. So she has all of her devices and her phone and everything set up to me. And so I literally asked her if she would go for a drive because she spends 24/7 stalking me.
Amanda Rabb said some similar stuff to that, didn't she? I don't want no girl close to my age doing my thoughts.
You guys pulled a fast one on me, and I don't want no girl close to my age doing my thoughts and video gaming me, so nah, I'm not feeling it.
There's electronic me's running around.
I don't know why every time I get high it's in your head. That's the machine. There's different me's running around here, electronic, around the city and stuff like that. And I want to know who is doing that. You need to stop. I'm thinking my voice is being done by somebody else who's sitting at home.
Dahlia said that her mom likes to kill her, resurrect her, kill her, resurrect her.
She literally just lives to just kill me, kill me, resurrect me a million times, and rapists after me.
I have speculated before that that could possibly have something to do with the virtual reality games, like maybe they kill her and wake her back up as a scared straight diversion program. Maybe they doing demon rituals, girl. I mean, I really don't know because she did literally said that her mom is demonic.
She also did tell me about the black magic.
So there's that, girl. I mean, I really don't know. But if you would just take this stuff out of context, right? If you would just listen to Amanda Rabb's interviews, which have millions of views, by the way. If you just listen to her interviews, you would probably say something like, that woman is schizophrenic. She believed that the government was following her. She believed that she was a targeted individual. She believed that she believed that she was in communication and contact with Kim Kardashian and Michael Jordan. She made allegations of abuse against her father and then reneged on those allegations. And so it's unclear just looking at those videos for first glance, first instance, what Amanda's really trying to say to the average viewer. I mean, some people can read between the lines on the first viewing. I understand that. Well, Amanda ended up dead. Okay. So she's no longer around to answer questions about what she went through. But then you have someone else who was using that experimental technology saying that her mom had all of her devices hooked up to her and it was like a production house in here and she's always being monitored and her mom hooks her up to these devices and it makes her act weird and it makes her feel hot. And I mean, she's making all kind of allegations. Okay. So just taking that alone by itself without anything else. And we know for a fact, for 100% fact, that Lima, the sister with the company, she has said that she used this technology on her sisters. One of the sisters, we don't know where she is, okay? Because one of them done filed, Dahlia, she's filed stuff in court recently in a case that I'm involved in, but Diadema has not filed shit in court. So I'm wondering, where is Diadema? Is she competent to file something in court? Is Dahlia competent to file something in court? Did anybody file anything in court? Is it forged signatures? I do not know. I can literally not speculate. The only thing I know is she accused her mother of trafficking.
Sex trafficking is illegal.
It is very illegal, yes,
So
ma'am.
why is it allowed only on me?
It's not allowed.
So why is she still here? Why isn't she in jail?
And of hooking her up to devices to control her.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any injuries?
I just want her to go to jail.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been asking for that for 2.5 years.
What happened tonight?
I literally asked her to go for a drive, and then she gets all of her devices, and they start acting all weird because she has everything linked up to me. So I asked her to leave her phone here, and then she called the police and started crying and saying that I was attacking her. And then I took the phone and I locked myself in the bathroom, and then she broke that door trying to come in and kill me. And then she starts crying, going, help me, she's trying to kill me. And I'm like, I'm trying to hide in the bathroom, and she literally won't leave me alone without her phone. And she started freaking out and crying, and she has all of her devices set up to me. This place is like set up like a production house. It's the freakiest thing ever.
To gather her stem cells.
Okay.
Like this huffing thing and all the stem cells from my chat on her. And it smells disgusting. And then everyone's a huffer. I can feel it all. They're going and breathing all weird.
Okay.
And I'm like, why is it disgusting? I can tell on the phone.
Breathe.
I mean, she was saying some stuff that sounded a little zany. Okay. Now, all that to say, someone of y'all sent me this article. I think it was yesterday morning. And this is really why we're here today. Would you look at this? OU News from March 12th. So this from 3 months ago. We got some people. This kind of looked like Newton Lee, to be honest. The transhumanist guy. I'll throw a picture up there of him. Maybe he doesn't look like him, but he reminds me of him because he's just the way he's looking at the world domination of technology. Would you look at all this on her head? On this patient, on this subject's head. What is this? Well, let's read. Look, this is a brain scan right here. And that's another thing Lima had said. I don't know if I'll be able to find all these clips because it's like dozens of hours of clips. But at one point she did say, I guarantee you, if we were to scan everyone's brains, we would find out that they really need mental health help.
If it were up to me to reform the system, nobody would be allowed to be homeless. It's not a choice. If you scan their brains, you're going to understand that they can't make those decisions to seek help. It's not that they don't want to make the decision, they don't know how to make the decision. So that's why I originally designed Aura, because it's a way to track people in virtual reality and implanting memories in people's brains. But if you scanned everybody's brain, you would see that they were incapable of making their own decisions. And 3 things that should be done. If you're homeless, you need to seek a homeless shelter. No one should be sleeping out in the streets. It's not okay. Number 2, if you don't want to go to a homeless shelter, then you should be sent to a psychiatric hospital. Psychiatric hospitals will just sedate you because they have so many people that are on edge. So they give them sedatives. They have a bed to sleep in, a room. Every now and then we'll walk up to you and be like, Kevin, any thoughts of suicide today? No? Okay. And then they walk away, and that's your entire day. So you're allowed to leave, but you can only leave not on the street, but instead to a rehab where you're willing to go.
I'm still a little lost here. So you said that's 24/7. Is it like you can't leave kind of thing? Is that what level 2 is?
Residential, you cannot leave. 24/7 gated.
Okay.
So if you gate the community, and someone is, let's say they're at the very beginning of outpatient, but they shouldn't be allowed to leave the community immediately. They should still be monitored. They've been doing well, so now they get to step down another tier where they're allowed to exit the community and then come back into the community. But it has to be a slow transition. You can't just hand freedom over like that and then boom.
Who is capable of having that freedom without hurting themselves?
You figure it out. So for us, the way that we figure it out is we figure it out by tracking them through our app. This is a gift. This is not a punishment.
Basically trying to say everybody needs these brain scanners. And until or unless you actually look at it, it's almost like it's just like a sci-fi. What does it say? The brain imaging technology known as functional near-infrared spectroscopy and electroencephalography can aid in what? Transcranial magnetic stimulation as treatment. Okay, what? OU biomedical engineering researchers collaborate on DARPA brain stimulation study.
We're always looking to see where the frontiers of science are generating amazing new innovation, because that's where the seeds of technological surprise are going to be. One of our programs a few years ago, what are the signals that allow us to control our limbs? One of our wonderful volunteers, she's a quadriplegic, but she's had these implants now on her motor cortex, 2 tiny little chips that pick up her neural signals, and she uses her thoughts to control this sophisticated mechanical arm. But of course it also opens this other door, because now we can go directly from the brain into the mechanical world. It's exciting and terrifying to think about what's on the other side. We as a society are going to have to think hard about where we want to go.
What is terrifying about it?
Lets us imagine a future where there are ways to be able to find detailed pickup of neural signaling without having to use surgical techniques. And I think that's the nature of these leading edge technologies. We pursue them because of their promise, but we know that they are going to pose really interesting and important challenges for us as a society.
4 years later.
March 16th, 2018, the U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, commonly known as DARPA, announces a bold initiative to develop what they call next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology. It is designed to allow the human brain to directly interface with machines.
DARPA is exploring human-machine interfaces that include direct connections between the brain and outside systems. From the beginning of DARPA's information technology mission, and it continues to this day. DARPA has created some of the most influential technologies of all time, things that we use and take for granted every day. The project that became the internet, self-driving cars, stealth technology, GPS that fits in your pocket. That's DARPA's specialty, to imagine the future and create it.
We could have a sensor maybe on the surface of our head, or maybe implanted somewhere in our body, in our brain, that allows us to interact directly with our communications gear, our processing gear, our weapons systems, and so on. Now imagine we take that technology and we can control robots at a distance with it. Fly drones. You put this sensor on and you think the right way, and you can increase the speed of the fan by thinking and controlling that thought with direct-to-mind or mind-machine interfacing.
But there are those who believe that this same technology could also be used by DARPA as a new form of mind control. Like their counterparts at the CIA, DARPA-funded researchers have spent decades investigating how the human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
There are explicit programs of DARPA to read and write to human brains, whether it's through direct implants within the brain or wearing some kind of cap. So these things are being worked on, and we know that.
Maybe the next step is we can send instructions and information to an actual person from a distance with this kind of technology to let another person control their actions. But that could be something that could be malicious.
That would be the ultimate technological achievement that would fall into this realm of mind control.
But as concerning as that may be, according to some scientists, a more permanent kind of mind control technology is looming, and it involves modifying the human brain by altering the human body's DNA.
And the future being right now, because these experiments are being done using gene editing tools. The CRISPR, which are these short alternating repeats of DNA. You put that together with an enzyme called Cas. And so you take the CRISPR that you want to use, and you put these pieces together that can be injected and insert this DNA to certain areas of the brain so that we can change brain cells and turn you into something you wouldn't otherwise be. So in this way, gene editing technologies like CRISPR really form a definite basis for future control.
These are things that DARPA has investigated. We still don't have a good handle on the ethics of various technologies that we use. The technologists tend not to be so concerned with the ethics. That seems to be the domain of other people, policymakers, for example, academics. people like this. There needs to be a hand-in-hand interaction with people creating technology and those who are considering the ethics of that technology.
Okay, great. But hold on. We're going to keep reading. But if you've watched my most recent videos, especially the one about Rebecca, you will know that Mark was trying to shill this treatment onto Rebecca.
Do you want to try TMS?
What's TMS?
The transcranial magnetic stimulation. You talked about this with Owen on the phone. You had a conference call, remember?
Mark, if we're gonna go to New York, you're gonna
No, he's coming here.
$50,000.
He's going to come
You're
here.
gonna hand me. I was gonna come here.
He's going to come here for you.
I'm gonna play along. Why? I want something attached to the price tag of $50,000, and you haven't subsidized $50,000 towards me to hold against you for the rest of your life. He said it was $50K, right? How much are we gonna pay him?
We'll figure it out. I'll pay for it.
Yeah, but he said like $50K, right?
No, but he's going to do it for cheaper.
He said $50,000. I was gonna do it for free. I know, just buy stuff.
I think TMS is the answer for you.
I think TMS is the answer for me. I'm just gonna agree with it. Hello, my name is Behavioral Modification. Thank you, computer, for enabling behavioral modification.
And the reason I say shill isn't because of the treatment itself, which a lot of y'all have commented and said the TMS thing changed your life in a positive way and you would recommend people to try it if it's consenting and all that. I was even saying that in the video. It might be the case that this TMS stuff is cool and good and real and legit and helps. It might be. I would never want to discourage someone from consentingly, knowledgeably approaching any new way to assist them in their mental health development or whatever. Like I would never want to discourage somebody from seeking out treatment that could help them. I don't know very much about this TMS thing. I really don't know. Some of y'all have said it is really good. So I just want to continue to disclaim and reiterate. I do not know about these technologies themselves, and I really don't have any criticisms of the technologies themselves. Now, what I will say is, am I excited about putting some shit like this on my head? No. I personally, I'm extremely sensitive to electromagnetic fields. Like I can literally feel the electromagnetic energy of a large appliance when I walk by it. Like if I walk by a refrigerator, my electromagnetic field is affected by it. So putting all this shit on top of my head, like when I go into an MRI machine, my ears pop. I'm extremely sensitive to EMFs, essentially. So I'm not trying to put this on my head. Now, if somebody would be able to give me a PowerPoint presentation and say like, girl, this is how it's going to help you, I might do it. But just in general, I am put off and opposed. Like even, sitting in front of these lights to make videos and stuff is very, very overwhelming for me in a like stimulation way because of the electromagnetic stuff coming off of it and the photons and the things like that. So all that to say, the issue that I do have with it is that Mark was trying to specifically get Rebecca to get this TMS treatment with someone who Mark appears to know as his friend, this Muir guy, and his wife. And this Muir guy and his wife, they do this TMS stuff.
Carlene McMillan and Owen Muir. You guys are husband and wife, but you're also psychiatrists, specialize in...
So interventional brain medicine is what I'm calling it these days, using that to target treatments to the part of the brain that needs to change. And so the kind of first generation of that was transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS.
It treats more than just depression, right?
It very much does, right. In the 1980s, figuring out, okay, you can take this magnet and you can create a response in the brain. George at MUSC said, well, what happens if we take this response in the motor cortex and we move it to the front of the brain? It seemed to do something. TMS changes that rhythm directly. You don't have to hear music to sync up. It's just going directly into those neurons and says, no, this is the rhythm. This is the pacemaker. This is the metronome. Sync to this. And then the rest of the brain does.
With TMS, it's just a way of stimulating the brain, and depending on where you stimulate, you can get different results.
So you can affect ADHD.
Yes.
Let's explain what TMS is like when you're actually getting the treatment.
Yeah. It's one of the things that's like when Morpheus says, no one can tell you what the Matrix is. And so I can explain it and describe it, and it sounds stupid. The way my technicians like to describe it is it's like an angry hummingbird banging on your baseball helmet with a ball peen hammer. And
or woodpecker. I've heard woodpecker.
Well, woodpecker is if it's using the older protocols at 120%. It's a lot harder. But you're having the sensation of getting some tapping on your head very rapidly.
It's painful or no?
In the beginning, the experience is often described as painful, and then it's not anymore because it's just the pain signal just abates. It goes away.
No scarring. Your muscles in your face like twitch a little bit, but like while you're getting it. And I've not had a full course or anything. I have tried, just to feel it. I think I got it like for 3 days, and I can remember the first day was like pretty painful. This is just one little session, right? So just a few minutes. And then by the second day, it was fine. And by the third day, I was just like on my phone looking, it was fine.
And there are people who get it, even intermittently at each next treatment is more potent than the treatment before, because the treatment before set the brain up to be ready to learn the next thing.
Have there been negative things that have happened?
The worst side effects are seizure, right, which happens very rarely and has never happened with accelerated treatment.
That we know of, that's been reported.
Never been published.
Yeah.
And among Stanford, Acacia, and Vermont.
But if a seizure started to happen, you would just turn off the machine.
Yeah, you just turn off the machine.
So I've seen 5 seizures happen in my career. Those were all once-a-day cases. We induce seizure with ECT as a treatment.
Right. Yeah. And so, people that have like an ongoing seizure disorder. This is not going to be a good fit.
Yeah. This only happens during a treatment.
Amanda never had seizures prior to being homeless.
During a treatment.
During a treatment, right.
They couldn't tell if the seizures are from past drug use or traumatic brain injury from the assaults. If the traumatic brain injury and the assaults were well documented, they would have most likely marked it as a homicide.
Treatment, right.
An 8-minute treatment.
Yeah.
The other risks are headache, fatigue,
jaw
pain. I think the biggest risk is for people. I worked at Sony Music Studios. After college, I called up Steve Albini, who recorded In Utero, and said, how do I get a job at a studio?
And come to find out, and I made a whole video on this. Y'all can go watch that video if you want to. But that Muir guy, he's been sued, and so is his wife. And they're in active litigation right now with the mother of a patient who, drumroll please, died in their care. Okay. The last call the girl made before she unalived, self-deleted her own self, was to this Stephen Muir doctor who does this TMS treatment. Okay. Now, again, that's fine. Nothing wrong with the TMS as far as I can tell. But Mark is trying to act like he's about to get Rebecca up off the street and pay for a $50,000 treatment with this Stephen Muir guy. And the Stephen Muir guy, in my opinion, until it's all settled in court, I think it's a little sus. I'm not sure I would send anybody to him until it's all settled in court. That being said, innocent until proven guilty. I can't prove that the guy did anything, and I'm keeping an open mind until the case comes out. And it's not really proven guilty because it's a civil case, so he probably won't be proven guilty. To my knowledge, he hasn't been charged with any. Prim came in. I don't even remember where I was with this video. Anyway, okay. So yeah, the thing that I found suspicious was that Mark seemed to be friends with this guy, and it seemed to be like another situation, like the Lima situation, where it's like Mark is trying to pawn off Rebecca as an advertising opportunity to somebody who he's friends with and their little business or whatever. And on top of that, both of these friends, both Lima and this Muir guy, have had at least one person die over the course of using their treatment as a part of that care. So those are the things that kind of alarmed me. And those are some of the important places and people, just to catch y'all up. We got Oklahoma in the mix. We got TMS in the mix. We got Air Force veterans. Edwards Air Force Base has a case study. We got Amanda Rabb, a homeless woman with PTSD and schizophrenia, who was used as a case study. We have these two twins who were misdiagnosed with schizophrenia, and then actually they had DID, who were used for this experimentation, one of whom, I don't know where she is. We don't know where she is. And then one of y'all sent me this article. Let me pull it up. OU biomedical engineering researchers collaborate on DARPA brain stimulation study. Traumatic stress, particularly in military personnel, can lead to severe consequences, such as mental illness, substance abuse, PTSD, family violence, and unaliving. Addressing unaliving prevention and improving treatment methods are top priorities for the Department of Defense. So DARPA is like a Department of Defense program. University of Oklahoma. Biomedical engineering professors are at the forefront of this effort and are part of an interdisciplinary team awarded a $12 million grant from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency of the Department of Defense. So that's DARPA. It says, collaborating with engineers, neuroscientists, and clinicians from Columbia University, the Medical University of South Carolina, and the University of Wisconsin at Madison, they aim to enhance brain stimulation techniques for treatment-resistant depression. The researchers' recent work showed promising results by synchronizing brain waves using repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Okay, so the researchers' recent work showed promising results by synchronizing brainwaves. And how did they synchronize these brainwaves? Well, they did it with transcranial magnetic stimulation, and that is the TMS. That is what Mark Leta is trying to get Rebecca to consent to. And Mark has said he would pay the $50,000, and he's like, well, maybe they'll give us a discount. So the transcranial magnetic stimulation is what Mark is trying to get Rebecca to do. And this is after Mark already tried to get Rebecca to go with Lima with her Aura virtual reality stuff. Now, Aura, we know, was at least trying to use Edwards Air Force Base veterans as a case study.
We are doing case studies only right now because we want to prove efficacy. But when I say right now, we are going to go live before the end of this year.
Oh my God, that's interesting.
And we're actually talking to Edwards Air Force Base right now about being a case study.
Okay. You see what I'm saying here?
Oh my God! What the? Oh! Oh my God!
I made it. Hi, I'm Lima Abramovich, and I'm the founder of Autonomous User Rehabilitation Agent, or AURA for short. Our team is on a mission to treat mental health like physical health by allowing mental health clinicians to see how a patient is feeling. We do this by allowing therapists to use virtual reality in sessions with patients.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a patient at this recovery center.
So, Amanda, what do you do here? Like, what is a day typically like?
My day is typically in the morning. We have a process group, and that's our group. That's my favorite.
It's her first day, and she's still learning every day, so that's motivation definitely every day.
The web just keep webbing, girl.
And I am sure that this is completely unrelated and has nothing to do with anything at all whatsoever, but I just wanted to point out the completely not related fact that there is a U.S. Defense Department location only 4.4 miles away from that treatment center. Again, this is completely irrelevant to everything else in the video. Thank you.
The web just keep webbing, girl. Okay, so another thing about this synchronizing brainwaves. The synchronizing of brainwaves is something I'm very familiar with. And this comes from a declassified operation called the Gateway Papers. Y'all might have heard of this. It has to do with the Monroe Institute. And this guy back in the 60s, or maybe it was 70s, was using a different type of technology to synchronize the brain waves. Y'all know we have two halves of our brain. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but we have two halves of our brains. We have a left and a right, hemisphere. And then there's a corpus callosum in the middle, but there's two sides of our brain. Well, the theory of these declassified documents was that if you could synchronize the left and the right side of your brain in such a way that they were in communication with each other, I'm using layman's terms here. Y'all can go and read these papers yourself. They're declassified. If you could synchronize the left and the right hemisphere in such a way through the use of sound waves, you could actually do something called astral projection. And this is literally declassified. See, I ain't making this up. I wish I was, but I ain't. This research was done for military operations. And so story goes that they were training soldiers with this brain sound wave synchronization technique called hemisync, synchronizing the hemispheres of the brain. And they were, I guess, like flying out of their bodies to go spy on the Russians or something, girl. I mean, I really don't know. Again, there's a lot of YouTube videos about this. There's a lot of people that know a lot more about it than me. Go check it out. But this brain hemisphere synchronization comes to mind whenever I see something DARPA is doing is curing PTSD by synchronizing brain waves using transcranial magnetic stimulation, and it's triggered by electroencephalography. Now, what does it do? It says it improves treatment outcomes for mental health conditions. The DARPA-funded project, and that means your tax dollars, by the way. And it might be great. This might be wonderful. Thank you for your service if you are a veteran. Thank you for your service, especially if you went over there and got messed up in the head over it, because that wasn't cool, that wasn't good, and probably you wasn't fighting for the reasons they told you were. But as much as I appreciate the service, I want to especially make sure y'all aren't getting taken advantage of and things like that. But if you got the opportunity to do this transcranial stimulation, far be it for me to stop you. If you want to do it, please do go ahead. But it's $12 million grant from DARPA, which means it's $12 million of our money that's going to this. So now we have an interest in it. You see what I mean? Okay, thank you. Not only do we have an interest in it for financial reasons, but of course, we care about our veterans. I do. Speak for myself. The DARPA-funded project part of the Strengthen program, targets unaliving prevention in challenging clinical populations. The team aims to promote cognitive flexibility and emotional regulation, and these are great goals, and I hope it's true. I really do. I have no reason to believe they're lying. I really don't. I'm not saying they are. This is in Oklahoma, okay? This is Oklahoma. This is in Oklahoma. This is TMS. It's just kind of like all these familiar TMS, Oklahoma, brain syncing, Mark's friends doing the TMS. I don't know, girl. I mean, I just thought it was interesting and thought it was a good public interest story to let y'all know that DARPA is doing brain synchronization. Okay. All that to say, if I could take them for their word, this is an excellent goal for this project. They aim to promote cognitive flexibility, emotional regulation, and this is crucial for overcoming depression and trauma, says the guy in charge of the biomedical engineering school. In our research, we're addressing a new challenge, treating individuals. These patients pose greater difficulties than those with depression because it's not simply a diagnosis like depression is. People may attempt to unalive for various reasons. In our research, as we progress through the stages of the project, we will recruit patients who may have depression, anxiety, or both. This is known as comorbid conditions, and also including PTSD. Our goal is to develop interventions for this complex clinical population, and I want y'all to be careful. If something happens to me one day, I don't plan on leaving this rock anytime soon. But if anything ever happens to me, there's some stuff I want y'all to remember. And I want y'all to remember when you see the word intervention, it's a code word. Not always. These people might be wonderful, great people. I really don't know anything about this project, and I want to be very clear about that. But intervention in this tech transhumanism world very often means big brother. Okay. Intervention =, big brother very often. Okay. It's a dog whistle. It's a code word often. Not saying it is here, but often. When you see intervention, a lot of times that means something like your cortisol, your blood, your respiration, your heart rate, something's being monitored. And it's going to spike up and it's going to know you better than you. It's going to tell your doctor via app. It's going to tell your doctor via smartwatch. It's going to tell them somehow, some way. They're going to get alerted that your cortisol's through the roof or that you're in an area you're not supposed to be in. And the intervention very often is going to look like, mark my words, a police officer, a catcher showing up, snatching you up off the street and bringing you somewhere you don't want to go, and you don't have a choice but to go. Okay?
Yeah, I'm the program director for a startup called Aura, Autonomous User Rehabilitation Agent. And it is an application that will track your mental health day to day. It does that with algorithms, with heartbeat, with sleep, with biofeedback, and with voice recognition. So that's what the Aura model is going to provide, is you will be doing whatever you're doing during your day. Yeah. You may not even be aware of exactly how you're feeling. But let's say you have a smartwatch with the Aura app on it. It's monitoring you. So it'll signal you, hey, Joel, how are you feeling? Really? And you might do a voice recognition to say how you're feeling. And it would say, well, you might think you're okay, but we're noticing your cortisol levels are up.
Oh, you mean they can actually tell that kind of stuff from this app?
Well, that in the next model, that's where we're going to get to. I say cortisol level specific because that is specific.
Yeah, that is.
But everything else I mentioned earlier is already established in the app.
And then what do you do about it? Is there somebody you can call?
So then it would say, like, let's do a deep breathing exercise. Let's do a grounding exercise. The Aura person would say that to you through the phone. And then let's say you're still not calming down. Then a virtual therapist would kick over and start trying to help you with the situation, an AI chatbot. Okay. Wow. If that doesn't work, it would kick you to a live therapist who's on call through the Aura staff. And if that doesn't work, it would automatically dial 911 to get someone there to check on you.
So is this happening? Are people using this out in the field yet?
We are doing case studies only right now. And we're actually talking to Edwards Air Force Base right now about being a case study.
That is what intervention often means. Sounds so great. Intervention. Oh, we're going to call you and give you a big hug and treat you to an ice cream sundae. No. Usually it's going to look like what that TMZ doctor said. You don't want to take the medicine? Force her on it.
What would you do if you were taking care of Britney Spears? What would be the first thing you'd do today to get her help?
Medication. Put it in her. If she doesn't want to take it, I would inject it in her.
Wow, that's, there's no question in your mind.
No, she needs medication. She's out of control.
The voice is actually very rich in data. So we validate what you answered. I'm fine. I'm like, doesn't seem like you're fine. And then we also do biofeedback. So we track your distress levels, blood pressure, all of that in the application. And we can track it through the camera in your phone.
We're rather, how can you compel people to go? Because I mean, I do think that
You
the
have
people
to force
who
it. It has to be a choice of the state.
that
You
the
have
people
to
who
force it. You have
oh
to force
wow
it.
okay
You have to. You have to be able to say, you hurting yourself is you hurting a person. So
Right.
you are not allowed to hurt a person in this country because you're making these poor decisions and because you're physically incapable of making, because it's a proven fact that the brain of someone abusing drugs cannot function in these ways until you get clean enough to be able to say, oh, okay, I get it now. Thank you.
That's an intervention, guys. Okay. So if you can say, oh, the person's going to kill themselves, we got to get them. That's an intervention. I will also remind you that Lima stood on a bridge and acted like she was going to do just the same thing. So maybe she could use some TMS. But I do find it interesting that this guy that they're trying to get Rebecca to do TMS with, the patient that died in his care died by unaliving herself. The very thing that these TMS people are trying to treat with the TMS. Now, was the girl doing the TMS? Was she doing TMS with that doctor? I don't know. It is unclear. It is ambiguous. I would assume she was because it seems to be a specialty.
I can't think of a better reason to be a psychiatrist than to see someone be able to have different hopes than they came in the door with that are better for them.
Yeah, we had a brief period of time where we didn't have a TMS machine a couple
That's
years
awful.
ago, transitioned businesses, and we just were like, well, we'll just do, Zoom visits and we'll do the med management. And it was intolerable. Like, I needed to have it in order to feel, it would be like a carpenter without a hammer or something. I just needed that tool. And that's part of why, I have licenses in multiple states, but I don't necessarily want to be taking all these cases in other states, because if I can't offer them TMS, then I feel really hindered in my ability to help them in the full extent. So once you have that tool, you really want to be using it.
Yeah.
I don't know that she was, and maybe she wasn't. So maybe, TMS and unaliving have nothing to do with each other, but I do think it is an important and interesting data point that the guy that Mark Leta is trying to send Rebecca off to get TMS therapy, somebody died in his care, and it was about unaliving. So now over here, we're seeing 3 months ago, this article says they're going to be using the TMS to intervene before people unalive. So it's like, I wonder if that could possibly work based on, I don't know. It's just things to think about. Okay, what's their approach? Enhancing transcranial magnetic stimulation with state-of-the-art brain imaging technology aims to enhance cognitive flexibility, emotional regulation, and potentially transforming mental health treatment when combined with cognitive behavioral therapy. The researchers will leverage their findings and build a less expensive and more widely scale. We have to scale it. Then we're going to scale it for everybody to use it in their home.
How can we scale help for for everybody?
Don't y'all all want to be hooked up to one of these things in your house? That would be so sweet. That would be so cute. If we just had one of these all just sitting around in our house and we got to look at our brains. What a fun party trick. Okay. And then they do give the suicide and Chris lifeline. Okay. So that's interesting. So that was the thing I wanted to look at. And now I'm just going to see if we can get TMS.
Doctors say the pandemic has magnified many mental health challenges, including depression. Now there's a new way to treat clinical depression, and you can only get it at a handful of places in Oklahoma. So it's called transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS.
So this is from Oklahoma? That's interesting. I don't know if that's true or not, but...
Hillis joins us in the studio with what doctors are saying about this new treatment here in Oklahoma. Tevis?
Well, Robin and Lacey, right now, Oklahoma ranks in the top 10 states for those fighting depression. But at SSM Health, they're opening the door.
What does that mean? Oklahoma ranks in the top 10 states for those fighting depression 2 years ago? What? This is April 2022. So it's the same year that Dahlia had accused her mother of S**ing her in Oklahoma. Interesting.
New treatment options.
It's called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS for short.
This is a non-invasive procedure, helping those fighting treatment-resistant depression. This is something Dr. Burma has wanted for her patients for a long time.
We all know that depression causes dormancy or decreased functioning of certain sections of the brain. And with this treatment, we give magnetic stimulation to a specific part of the brain and help that part of the brain get more active.
I don't know why. It just sounds more trustworthy when it's coming from somebody that's not on Mark Leta's channel. I don't know why. That just feels more trustworthy to me. Okay, cool. So, I mean, again, the treatment itself, it seems promising a lot. Like some of y'all even said you did it and helped you. I don't know. I guess I have to read. This video is already longer than I wanted it to be. And like I said, I got to get back to my research into whether Beyonce is an extreme witch so that can come out later this week. But yeah, if I find anything else, I will let y'all know. I did just want to let y'all know that this article was just so interesting to me because it seemed like a lot of stuff just keeps coming back up over and over. And I do want to also say that the TMS treatment does seem to be different from the virtual reality aura treatment insofar as nobody said they wanted to use it as a case study. It does appear that insurance already does cover it, which was not the case for Lima's whole thing. She was trying to get insurance to cover it. I thought it was interesting because it's happening in Oklahoma with a collaboration with a government agency, which Lima has ties to Oklahoma. Interesting. That's where Dahlia accused her mother of hooking her up to devices and monitoring her, which, I mean, I guess if I don't exactly know what TMS is, I might describe it as that. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Hi guys, I'm Lima, the one you've heard so many wonderful things about. In this video, I'm going to be reacting to some of the stuff that's being said about me online. Technology with healthcare. I own a tech startup that works on building software for mental health care.
Can Lima have some ties to the police department?
They were using those mind control helmets.
This thing that is placed over the eyes, something that will hypnotize you or something.
That reminds me of the Black Mirror episode where this guy comes out of a virtual reality game for money.
Want to clarify that virtual reality has been around for quite some time and that there's been a lot of research on how it's very impactful in mental health and especially PTSD and substance use disorders. I don't do anything with mind control.
Lima's mind control helmet selling organization.
I don't do mind control. I never thought that I would have to make that statement.
Let's say I have a conspiracy theory. She probably knew someone was going to try to video game her and do her thoughts in a virtual reality Skid Row. She wouldn't consent to letting Lima video game her. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to use experimental virtual reality triggering environment technology on people, but I'm not a doctor, so what do I really know?
And they're taking early videos of before I met her, where she was going through psychosis and she thought that the government was watching her, and I think they're using her quotes from that period of her life. So nothing experimental, no guinea pigs. They're theories about imagined facts. I've been called a murderer, a scam artist, a criminal, and a liar. I have worked very, very hard, and I really appreciate all of the support. Thank you guys. Bye.
And today I'm taking a dip into some deep software underbelly lore. You hit me up, you said, do you want to interview the devil?
So Mark, well, first of all, I got canceled, as many people probably know. I was in total shock of what had happened online. So I asked Mark, I'm like, do you know anyone that would give me a voice in the situation? I asked him to connect me to you. What is wrong with people? Like,
So what do they think that you did?
They think I'm Illuminati. They think I'm MK Ultra. They think that I own rehabs and do.
Are you saying those two up front because they're the most obviously ridiculous? Like, or is that like a large percentage of these people actually think those things?
A large percentage of people actually appear to think that. They think I'm MK Ultra.
So this is like a large percentage of the software underbelly audience thinks that people because they do the Illuminati thing about me too.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
Well, that's
bizarre.
why you interviewed me, because we're both Illuminati. Just kidding. One person in particular, who appears to have a history of doing this to people, created a story with a false narrative, creating some crazy conspiracy where the courts are rigged and the doctors and everybody's in on this like insane Hollywood like little plot. Is just so insulting to the entire situation, especially the fact.
It's a shame because you're helping people like Chris, the schizophrenic young man that I interviewed.
Yeah.
And whether you want to find somebody else from my channel that you wanted to help, Rebecca would be a good.
Yeah, Rebecca has a very close place in my heart. So originally Amanda was supposed to work with me. I was gonna hire her while she was in school. So instead, I brought Larry on board. And so Larry's been going to court with me to help Chris.
The scandal that kind of came out of
Yeah,
crazy
so
social media people has made it harder for you to do anything.
absolutely, because when people look me up, they see these crazy accusations. Since the scandal broke out, I've refunded all of the supplements.
Yeah, but these people are claiming you killed Amanda and things like that. I mean, why would you have gotten a loan for $250,000 to help her?
I'm still paying back the loan that I got. Like, I'm still paying back the loan. And then all of a sudden, we get hit with these false allegations and these rumors just spreading like wildfire.
Which tarnishes your reputation.
Which means people are trying to make up these awful stories about how I would murder a dear, dear friend.
I think a lot of the problems stemmed from the autopsy results.
Yeah.
The autopsy results came, you read them.
I'm gonna read it word for word of what we got. The cause of death was marked as a seizure disorder. A seizure disorder.
Explain what happened with the autopsy.
The problems actually stemmed before that. They were making all these conspiracies before that. Amanda died from arrhythmia, cardiac arrhythmia, her teeth knocked out. She had her jaw dislocated.
It made you look bad in the social media world.
And so I read directly from exactly what the doctor sent me, word for word. A seizure disorder. And I guess they never amended the autopsy report. So.
Did you ever use Lima's virtual reality?
I did not understand it one bit.
So you thought that the regime that they had you on could potentially result in you losing your life?
Yeah.
You said you got to go back to LA tomorrow.
Hopefully. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I'm really hoping to see Phoenix. Nikki, please. I also wanted to talk to Betty Ford in Palm Springs as well.
Ford, the hospital.
It's a treatment. Yeah.
You're gonna go to Betty Ford.
Huh? Well, I just want to hear him out, you know.
Well, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we covered it. Yeah, I think you did get everything. Because last time I did an interview with with Lima, talking about everything, I started hyperventilating and I had a seizure, so I don't want that to happen again.
An interview with me?
No, with Lima.
When did you have an interview with Lima?
I did it a long time ago. But talking about everything got me so frustrated that I was like, I couldn't breathe right, thinking about all the...
Just thought it was interesting. That's all I really had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it, kbye.
If you guys made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for enduring all that pain and torture with me. I have worked very, very hard.
Welcome into my world. You're playing my game. Thought that you could come up and fitting off of my knee. Talking out the side of your neck like you're insane. Cortisol levels to the roof. Inflame. Kids these days so shameless. Selling out real friends for a paycheck. Mama didn't teach them no home training. Wanna be me so bad, but they failing. Step to the plate though. I'll take a challenger. I ain't scared of no low life scavenger. I should warn you though, if you haven't heard, I know Colleen, ukulele ballanger. Shots been fired. Run and tell that. Say it to my face though. Now behind my back. Won't be long till you share it in the group chat. And when I call you up, you're gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth. Fast Vivo, how it all turned